What is going on? Mortal Kombat 2021 came out last week. You're unsure if you want to watch it. Well, I'm here to help you out. We are the W Key Podcast, and this is a slight review / should you watch Mortal Kombat 2021. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's Frosty here with W Key Podcast, bringing you a YouTube video that's slightly different than what we're used to. This is going to be somewhat of a movie review, if you will, or a should you watch type of movie. And we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat, the 2021 version. Obviously, it just released last week. Realistically, a lot of people look at it as sort of the latest cash grab from studios. They're remaking everything under the sun. But I happen to think that this actually went pretty well, in my opinion. And we'll give you kind of an overview of why. If you're unfamiliar with Mortal Kombat, basically it's a side-scrolling fighting game. You fight against one other person. It's a side view. You fight. There's a lot of different moves, a lot of different characters. Very brutal. One of the signature facets of Mortal Kombat are the fatalities. They're very brutal. There's a bunch of them. Every character has 2 or 3, and they're pretty cool. Generally speaking, there is the fighting game side of things, but there is also lore behind the games. Essentially, it's based on, the lore behind it is a tournament that happens every generation. They say roughly 50 years. It's between different realms. So there's the Earth realm, there's Outworld, the Nether realm as well. But basically, you do it every generation. If one realm can win 10 straight, they gain the right to conquer the defending realm. And if this all sounds familiar, there was 2 movies. One was in 95 and the other one was 98 or 99, I think, something like that. The reason I'm not too sure on the second one is because it was Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and we don't really talk about that because that one was a farce compared to the 95 movie, in my opinion. So there's been 2 movies about it. There's been a few shows, animated series. There's been a ton of games. I think Mortal Kombat 11 is the most recent one, MK11. So it's got a very avid fan base from the game side of things. There's tournaments still. There's pros. There's people who go around the country, around the world fighting in tournaments. So it is a very popular video game, and it's a lot of fun. Me personally, I don't like those side fighting games for too long. I can play them for a bit, but I'm a button masher. I'm not, not someone who's practicing or building up move sets, things like that. I just happen to button mash, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so I lose interest really quick when I'm playing against someone who actually knows how to play the game. And so that's really kind of where I stand on that. So we'll go ahead and dive into the actual movie. I don't want to give away too much in this little review. This is sort of a review / should you watch. So if you're on the fence about watching, hopefully what I'm going to describe, I don't give away too much. But I can also help you make the decision to watch the movie if you want to, because I think it's worth a watch. Spoiler alert, towards the end of the video, we'll cover should you or should you not watch it. I think it's worth a watch, so I would get on it if you can. So the movie is slightly different. It follows a new main character. Some people didn't like that fact. I think it works fine. It's after watching the movie, I kind of think he's an amalgamation of a few different other characters from the games, but that has yet to be really confirmed or announced or anything like that. But anyways, you follow a new main character called Cole. And really, it's about Scorpion's bloodline, essentially. The new main character is a descendant of Scorpion's bloodline. So for anyone who doesn't know, Scorpion, obviously one of the most iconic Mortal Kombat characters. His name is actually Hanzo Hasashi, and he, his Scorpion character is like a Hell Spectre, someone from Nether Realm, because he died. Sub-Zero basically killed him. Sub-Zero was from a competing clan. So there was the Hasashi clan and then Sub-Zero's clan. They were competing. Sub-Zero's clan killed all the Hasashi clan members, and he He vowed revenge, and that's true in the games too. So this isn't something that's made up. That's true lore from the games as well. Either way, main character is part of Hanzo Asashi's bloodline, and they do a good job. I mean, the plot is enough, in my opinion. I really do think so. You got to keep that in mind. I mean, you got to keep in mind the fact that you're not going to the movie, or you're not going to watch it on HBO Max to see some super cerebral thriller drama-esque movie with twists and turns, keeping you on the edge of your seat. You're going to watch a movie based on a video game about people beating the shit out of each other and killing each other in very brutal ways. So you got to temper that, temper your expectations with that. But I thought the plot was good. It was good enough. It held the movie. It allowed for scenes that basically brought in old movie nostalgia, but also video game content. So it did a good job to prop up the ability to let the stuff that people are really wanting to see shine, in my opinion. There's a very long list of iconic Mortal Kombat characters in the movie. They did a pretty good job of incorporating a lot, like Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Jax, Sonya, Goro, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Kano, Cabal, all those different characters. There was a ton. So they did a really good job from that aspect. You just got to keep in mind that the plot is what it is, and it's not going to win any awards, but it's good. It's good enough. So essentially, it follows the main character, trials and tribulations. Finding out that you're this part of this selected bloodline. It follows everyone, anyone who has the Scorpion or the Mortal Kombat, the dragon, the logo of the game. If you've ever seen the game, or the logo of the movie, that Mortal Kombat dragon, that's a mark. Anyone who has that mark is basically a selected champion. And it follows the plot is basically just, the selected champions gathering up, fighting back some outworld invasion. It's one of those, main character has to come to grips with who he is and his responsibilities. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the cons section, in my opinion. But that's the overall synopsis of the movie, really, long and short. Selected champions. Outworld is on the precipice of winning their 10th tournament, so they're going to try to screw Earthrealm by tampering ahead of the tournament, killing all the champions, and the Earthrealm have to defend themselves. So that's really the overall synopsis, basically. I'm not a professional at doing movie reviews, so if you didn't like that, you can go screw. Just kidding. Don't forget to like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Let us know how we're doing. But anyways, we'll keep moving. Pros, there's good stuff in this movie, I think. They did a really good job of granting the humans powers to compete. Because if you know anything about the games, everyone's got some special powers, this and that. And generally speaking, you look at kind of Outworld, and the thought is that everyone in Outworld has some sort of power, but then no one in Earthrealm does. But they do a pretty good job. Basically, if you have the Dragon Mark, you have the ability to unlock your Arcana, or Arcana, however you want to pronounce it. And again, that's only gained, or you only have the ability to unlock that power if you are a selected champion. And what's cool too is the selected champions, the Dragon Mark that you have, say you're a champion and you get killed by somebody, then that mark then transfers to the person that killed you. They become a selected champion and they can unlock their Arcana, however you want to pronounce it. So they did a good job, in my opinion, of building that power system so that humans from Earthrealm could compete with the people from Outworld. And they don't openly say that people from Outworld all have powers no matter what. They could also only have powers because they're selected as well. They don't really hit on that, but that was sort of the vibe you get, at least from the 95 game or the 95 movie, and then the games as well. Everyone from Outworld seems to be powered somehow. They're either they look like Goro, they have 4 arms, yada yada yada, and they're all just going against normal humans. So that's sort of why I'm making that assumption. There's finishers galore. They did a really good job of incorporating a lot of the actual finishers, actual fatalities from the games into the movie. I'm not going to spoil any of them because I thought they were really good, and they're worth being surprised for. Hopefully you guys can't hear these sirens going off in the background, but we'll just push through. It's very brutal. They didn't skimp on that, so definitely hesitate letting kids watch this movie. Very bloody, very graphic. They stayed very true to the games in that sense. They did a good job adding in announcer lines. So if you ever played the game, there's always the fight or Kano wins, for example. Kano says that himself in the movie. That was shown in one of the trailers. But they did a good job of incorporating those lines, having the characters say those lines in certain situations. Obviously, it's a little cheesy, sure, but overall, I think they did a decent job at it. Sub-Zero and Scorpion play a much more present part in this movie compared to the 95 film, which I love because those are two of the most iconic characters, not only in the Mortal Kombat franchise, but in fighting game and video game character history, essentially. So they did a good job doing that. And then they also included a lot of fight scenes that looked like maps from the actual Mortal Kombat games. They may not have been one-to-one recreations, but just the camera angle that they shot the fight scenes at, the way they were positioned, the overall feel of the map, or the overall feel of the location they were fighting in, made it feel very much like the game, like you were looking at it from the side, and they were fighting. So I thought they did a very good job there. There are some negatives. This isn't a perfect movie. The big one, I think, for me personally, is there was no actual tournament. The Sub-Zero actor has signed on for 4 more movies, or 5 total, 4 more after this one. So if this is a success, they are going to make more movies. But for being a Mortal Kombat movie, this particular one did not actually have the Mortal Kombat tournament. So, for me, that's a bit of a con. I would say, the 95 movie had the tournament. This one didn't. And it is what it is. They're obviously trying to set up something more, keep something there, keep something in their back pocket for the next movie if it goes well. So it is what it is. I wasn't a huge fan of that fact, but I'm okay with it. There weren't many expansive sets or too many massive locations. I think a lot of this was a function of the budget, but all the areas were very small, kind of enclosed, secluded areas. There weren't many wide open spaces. There were a couple, but not a ton. And again, I think that was just to keep the budget down for sets and CGI on sets and things like that. And the final thing I would say for me, right off the top of my head, it was a bit slow. The early parts were a bit slow. It takes Cole, the new main character, a while to accept his fate, all that kind of shit. That happens in a lot of movies nowadays. So me personally, like I said, I think it was a little slow in some areas, but overall I'm okay with it. I got over it, but it is, like I said, it is a bit slow. It can be a bit of a slog in the early parts. So yeah, that's really a very, very brief overview, synopsis of the movie with our thoughts on it. Overall, I think it's a very good movie. I would give it 7 W's out of 10, if you will. It's really hard for me to pull myself out of the nostalgia of the old movie. So, I look at the old movie, the 95 movie, very nostalgically, and I love it. And it's very hard for me to separate that nostalgia from the actual movie. But I would say, this movie, the 2021 version, is a better movie overall, and it is a better video game movie, and it is probably the best video game movie that we've had in a really long time. So, I definitely think it's worth a watch. To answer the question, yes, you should watch it. If you have HBO Max, I would watch it for sure. Would I pay to go see it in theaters? I probably still would, just because I love these kind of movies. I love, a very well done video game movie for sure. So I probably would, but that's sort of something you have to come to grips with, if you're willing to pay the money. If you're already getting HBO Max, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. But if you got to have to go out and watch it at a movie theater, you may want to think about that a little more. I would say go for it. But again, I don't live your life. So other than that, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys liked what you saw. If you did, go ahead and like the video, share it with friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't, and follow us on all of our social medias. Everything is basically at W_key_podcast. And we will catch you guys in the next video and in the next podcast episode. And always remember, you can't spell win without W.